Three tails, old yin. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Three heads, old yang. Two tails, one head, yang yang. 2 tails, 1 head, yin yang. We'll begin reading a passage from Understanding Reality, which is a Taoist alchemical classic, a 10th century text on the principles of inner alchemy. Chapter 2, verses on various themes. On the essential ground. The essence of Buddhahood is not the same or different. 1,000 lamps are together one light. Adding lamps does not make more lights. Removing lamps does not damage the light. Neither grasping nor rejection impinges on it. Neither fire nor water can obstruct it. Nothing in perception or cognition can assess it. The verse uses the term essential ground because the body of true essence is unmoving like the ground. Be there sameness or difference, though circumstances and events be manifold and various, dealing with them all with an equanimous mind is like the shining of 1,000 lamps, shining on all with a single light. The lamps not one, but the light one. This essence has no increase or decrease. It has nothing to grasp or reject. It cannot be obstructed by fire or water. Also, just as the ground can sustain the weight of the mountains and can take the thrust of the rivers and can endure the injuries of myriad things, just as the ground is like this, so too the essence is like this. Perception and cognition have no existence in it. If we force a name on it, it is just emptiness. Emptiness doesn't mean extinction, but flexible adaptivity applied without minding. On birth and death. When you seek life, there is fundamentally no birth. If you fear death, when has there ever been extinction? Seeing with the eyes is not as good as seeing with the ears. How can talking with the mouth compare to talking with the nose? The essence of enlightenment fundamentally has no birth or death. As for those who insist on life and fear death, when has there ever been life without death? When there is birth, there is death. Only the birthless is deathless. Because that essence is birthless and deathless, it cannot be seen with the eyes, it can only be seen by the ears. It cannot be spoken of by the mouth, it can only be spoken of by the nose. What can be seen by the eyes and spoken of by the mouth is the nature which has birth and death. What is seen by the ears and spoken of by the nose is the nature which has no birth or death. Whatever can be seen by the eyes and spoken of by the mouth is not essence. What can be seen by the ears and spoken of by the nose, that is essence. Non-seeing seeing, that is true seeing. Non-spoken speech is better than that which is spoken. Since this birthless, deathless essence has no head or tail and no back or front, is neither existent nor non-existent, is neither void nor material. What is there to see or tell? If you can see it or verbalize it, it is not the essence of true emptiness. The three realms are only mind. The subtle principle of the three realms as only mind. Myriad things are not this, not that. There is not a thing that is not my mind. There is not a thing that is myself. The three realms are the realm of form, the realm of desire, and the realm of no form. The realms of form and desire are realms of minding. The realm of no form is the realm of mindlessness. Neither minding nor mindlessness is the essence of Buddhahood. The title of the verse says the three realms are only mind, but what is to be called the true mind is the unminding mind, which is neither existent nor non-existent, in which neither being nor non-being stands, and things in self are ultimately empty. In the mind of the true mind, myriad things are one body, without division into this and that. There is nothing that is not my mind refers to not clinging to voidness. There is nothing that is myself refers to not sticking to forms. Not clinging to voidness, not sticking to forms, there is just one mind. One mind is one essence, mind is Buddha, and Buddha is mind. The bottom trigram of our primary hexagram we will read as broken, broken, broken. We have an old yin line here and an old yang line here. Both of these will transform to give us a secondary or supporting hexagram. We will read them as their old, either yin in this case or yang in this case, and once they transform, we'll read them as their yang opposite. So our first trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as broken, broken, broken. This is the trigram. Kun, earth. Kun is earth, open to receive and support what comes to her, providing for its full development. She makes inspiration manifests, gives it form, and sustains its growth. Earth is available to be used, ready to lend her strength to the work without limit. She protects and accepts all things in their totality, present and potential, in an unconditional embrace. Earth is mother, found in the southwest and the harvest time of late summer and early autumn. Our top trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as solid, 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 which is Kuan, heaven. This is the trigram of earth. This is the trigram of heaven, or Kun and Kuan. Kuan is suprahuman cosmic law. Enduring, he determines the nature and development of all things. From the movement of the stars to the cycle of the seasons to causing each individual seed to grow into its own kind of plant. Heaven is creativity in its pure form, the force that drives change and what endures within it. He confronts us with truth and what it demands, both as the absolute law of nature and as the challenge of individual calling experienced as an inner law. He is both the awareness of what to do and how to be, and also the power to act on it. Heaven is Father, found in the northwest, the realm between autumn and winter when the buds set and seeds fall to earth. Kuan, heaven, over Kun, earth, gives us a primary hexagram of 12. Once our first and fourth lines transform, it will give us a bottom trigram of solid, broken, broken for our secondary hexagram, which is the trigram Zen, thunder. Thunder is shock, upheaval, and the spark of the new. In old Chinese belief, thunder slept in the earth over winter and erupted from it in spring, awakening living things into new growth. Thunder is our basic drive for renewal. He inspires initiative and decisive action. He is the stimulus that sets things in motion. He is the eldest son in the trigram family, the first connection of heaven, potential, with earth, realization. Yang makes itself known here, emerging into the field and beginning to grow. Thunder belongs to the east and to spring. And top trigram of our secondary or supporting hexagram will be read as broken solid solid, which is Xun, wind or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants, whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance, and so her influence is subtle and gradual but far-reaching. In the family of trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast and to late spring and early summer. Our top or outer trigram of our secondary hexagram will be read as broken solid solid. Oh, yeah, we just went over that. So we have broken solid solid, or Xun, wind or wood, above Zen, thunder, which gives us a supporting or secondary hexagram of 42. I think we got that yesterday. 42. Solid, broken, solid, solid. Yes. All right. So we will start reading from I-ming's Taoist I-ching, written in 1796 as a Taoist adept, and Thomas Cleary has translated it. In the beginning, he breaks down each hexagram into succinct definitions. So we'll start there with hexagram 12 as our primary. Which is obstruction. Submitting inwardly to personal desire, acting aggressive outwardly. And 42, increase. Entering the Tao gradually without either rushing or lagging, increasing the positive while decreasing the negative. How our answer to the question we bring to the I-ching when we consult the oracle, that question having the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirit or forces shaping this moment of time, will be answered in a particular way, and we understand it when we know how the parts of our reading work together. The key to understanding a reading is to know your way around its main components, how they fit together, and the different roles they play. If your reading includes changing lines, then you will need to understand primary hexagram, relating hexagram, and changing lines together. The two hexagrams in conversation with one another map out your whole answer. The primary hexagram shows you quite directly what your answer involves. The relating hexagram generally describes what the answer is about for you. It sets the primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. If the two hexagrams map out a landscape for you, then the changing lines stick a pin in that map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They are the immediate answer to your question. As the most specific, focused part of a reading, their message always takes precedence over all other elements. For example, the primary hexagram might describe a reassuringly secure situation, but a changing line could warn how insecure your position is within it. Starting with the text, we will then move on after getting our changing line readings, to the commentary section, which has no changing line readings. Once we work our way out of this book, we will then move on to James Dekorne's website, where he synthesizes several commentaries on the I Ching, and so we can kind of cross-reference a little bit. We won't pick everything out of there. And then we will move on to a little more practical and also very profound, often, commentary by Hilary Barrett. And after that, we'll flip some cards and draw some chapters we'll read from the Tao Te Ching. So, Hexagram 12 from the text. Literally just fiddling with the book instead of looking for the section. Obstruction. Obstruction's denial of humanity does not make the superior person's rectitude beneficial. The great goes and the small comes. Explanation. Obstruction means blockage. As for the qualities of the hexagram, inside is earth, submissive, and outside is heaven, strong. Submitting to one's desires, outwardly acting adamant, negative energy is in charge, while positive energy retreats. Because strength and receptivity are separated, it is called obstruction. This hexagram represents yin and yang not joining. It follows on the previous hexagram, treading. Treading is promoting strength with harmony and joyfulness, causing yin and yang to join, so strength and receptivity are united. In general, when yin and yang do not combine, true yin changes into false yin, and true yang changes into false yang. The primordial is lost and false energy enters. False energy enters and true energy recedes. That is why obstruction's denial of humanity does not make the superior person's rectitude beneficial. Denial of humanity is false energy. The superior person is true energy. When the primordial has not been injured and true yang is within, the single mass of true energy is the superior person. When the primordial has been lost and the true yang is scattered externally, whatever the body has is false energy. To follow that conditioned yin, indulging in emotions and giving free rein to desires without any limit, is denying humanity. That denying humanity is not beneficial to the superior person means that false energy is not beneficial to true energy. At this time, the practitioner of the Tao should get rid of intellectualism and gather the energy and spirit within to preserve true yang. Particularly at this disadvantageous time, just when the great goes and the small comes, when negative energy does things, if one does not know how to forestall danger, one will increasingly produce obstruction, and it will be very disadvantageous. Our supporting hexagram 42, increase. For increase, it is beneficial to go somewhere. It is beneficial to cross great rivers. Explanation. Increase is adding what is lacking. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is wind, entering, and below is thunder, active. Acting so as to enter gradually, entering without either rushing or lagging. It is therefore called increase. This hexagram represents using reduction in the midst of increase. It follows on the previous hexagram, liberation. In liberation, the yang energy is active and gets out of danger, gradually growing and maturing, adding good that is lacking. However, to increase good is not possible without reducing what is not good. increasing good and decreasing what is not good, increasing and increasing again, reducing and reducing again, until there is no more increase or decrease possible. Finally reaching the state of utter good without evil, one is then done. Therefore, it is beneficial to go somewhere. Since beginningless time, people have accumulated faults and defects, the seeds of habitual compulsion growing deeper as time goes on. Now, if they want to do something of benefit to essence and life, they cannot accomplish this unless they first extract the seeds of these compulsive habits. But the seeds of habitual compulsions cannot be removed all at once. There are processes, procedures. This does not admit falsehood. It requires orderly progress, putting forth effort at every step, increasing the mind of Tao, decreasing the human mentality, increasing sane energy, decreasing aberrated energy. Only when there is such reduction within increase is it possible to succeed, to make it beneficial to go somewhere. The benefit is simply in one's practicing, producing beneficial phenomena. The benefit is simply in one's practice, producing beneficial phenomena. But to practice what is beneficial, it is important to have a beginning and a conclusion. If there is a beginning but no conclusion, one's acts are still of no benefit. There is no gain but loss. Therefore, the way of gain and beneficial action lies in concentrated will, making thoroughly dedicated effort, made from within difficulty and hardship. Only when one has dissolved the seeds of compulsive habit of time immemorial will one be able to restore one's original being. Therefore, it is also beneficial to cross great rivers. Great rivers are extremely dangerous. There, one's life hangs in the balance. If one can go through extremely dangerous places, then where there is no danger, one is at an advantage. According to the qualities of the hexagram, acting so as to progress harmoniously, gradually applying effort without rushing or lagging, this is the path of increasing and decreasing according to the time. That supporting hexagram put our answer into a broader context and said this is what the answer could mean for us. Now we're going back to our primary hexagram to read our changing lines, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They're the most specific part of our reading, and they take precedence over all other elements. Our changing lines are 1 and 4. They have general context to them. Line 1 has the general context of inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. And changing line 4 has the general context, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Changing line 1 of our primary hexagram 12, obstruction. Pulling out the roots of a reed takes others with it. It is good and developmental to be correct. Explanation. When one yin subtly arises, the root of obstruction is already established, and the potential of obstruction will surely emerge. This is likened to pulling out a reed by the roots, taking others with it. At this point, when yin energy has just arisen and yang energy is not yet injured, if one can immediately affect balance, it is possible to change a state of obstruction into one of tranquility. in general. When one forestalls obstruction by being correct, obstruction does not occur, and one attains a good state in reason and growth in action. This is forestalling yin before obstruction takes place. In changing line 4, if there is an order, there is no fault. The companions attain felicity. Explanation. At the point where yin culminates and mixes with yang, within obstruction is concealed tranquility, and the living potential also appears. The original order is again in force. The quality of strength in people is the innate mind that is the natural order, the celestial command. This mind is inherently complete in everyone, no more in sages and no less in ordinary people. But when it is constrained by temperament and covered by human desires, one takes pain for pleasure and will not turn back. If people will turn back, natural goodness will appear. One good can dissolve 100 evils, and one can immediately climb up on the shore of the Tao. Then those with fault can arrive at impeccability. Even if people are ordinary and mundane, if they know and practice this path, calamity turns into fortune, and companions attain felicity. This is the ability to not obstruct yang when it arises. We will now turn to the commentary section, keeping in mind that our changing lines were still our most focused point of the reading. Primary hexagram 12, obstruction. Heaven above, earth below. When heaven and earth do not commune, there is obstruction. The superior person, therefore, is parsimonious with power and avoids trouble, not susceptible to elevation by emolument. Obstruction is blockage. Above is heaven, below is earth. The energy of earth rises up from below. The energy of heaven descends from above. The energies of heaven and earth, the celestial and the mundane, do not mix, and myriad things are stifled. This is the image of obstruction. What superior people see in this is that heaven and earth, yin and yang, do not mix. Myriad things are inert, and when the celestial and the earthly and the human being do not commune, natural reality is damaged. Therefore, they are reserved and reclusive at the appropriate times, sparing with their powers and qualities, thus avoiding trouble, not susceptible to elevation by emolument. To be parsimonious with power means to banish intellectualism, to conceal one's illumination and nurture it in secret. Borrowing the temporal to preserve the primordial, not letting any external influences adulterate natural reality. This is because once people get mixed up in acquired conditioning, the false comes and the real departs. The mind is seduced by things. The nature is deranged and life is destabilized. No obstruction is more of a hindrance than this. No trouble is more of a problem than this. If one does not know to escape quickly as soon as there is any ambition for honor or material gain, or any emotional feeling about objects of sense, this will cause even more obstruction. How can one then avoid injurious trouble? Not susceptible to being elevated to a high post in the world, one is not moved by glory or emolument, much less by petty gains. The words parsimonious with power are very pregnant, involving many things and most detailed effort. Whatever talent or knowledge one has, one should hide it and bestow it as a monumental rampart, forgetting others and self, having power yet not being conscious of it. If one is conscious of one's power, that is not being parsimonious. Precisely because one is not conscious of one's power, one cannot be elevated by emolument. If emolument cannot elevate one, the trouble is no longer there, and the obstruction disappears of itself. Thus, though the earthly and the celestial do not commune at first, they will inevitably join in the end. So the effect of avoiding trouble by being parsimonious with power is not small. And supporting hexagram 42. Increase. Wind above, thunder below. Wind and thunder increase. Thus do superior people take to good when they see it and correct whatever faults they have. Increase is augmentation and enhancement. Above is wind and below is thunder. This is wind and thunder meeting. When thunder rolls, wind rises. The sound of wind enhances the thunder. This is the image of increase. What superior people see in this is that to increase goodness, it is necessary to reduce faults. And to reduce faults, it is necessary to increase goodness. Increase requires reduction. Reduction complements increase. So the increase has no end. Therefore, when they see good, they take to it. And when they have faults, they correct them. When people are first born, they are totally good without evil. That is, goodness is inherent in people, while faults are originally non-existent in people. It is because they are unaware of good that they have faults. If they take to good when they see it and continue to move toward goodness until there is nothing they do that is not good, they will end up at ultimate good. If they correct faults they have and keep correcting them until there is nothing faulty in them, they will finally become impeccable. Taking to good means being able to be firm. Correcting faults means being able to be flexible. Firmness must be like the powerful, direct action of thunder. Flexibility must be like the gentle, gradual advance of wind. Being vigorous, one can enter into goodness. Being easygoing, one can be without fault. Firmness and flexibility complement each other. What was there before returns, and what occurred later disappears. The primal is restored and the acquired dissolves. By this enhancement, one reaches ultimate good with no evil, the stage of complete integration with the celestial design. So the work of taking to good and correcting faults is no small matter. I'm going to read some of James Dekorne's synthesis of various commentaries. Starting with Hexagram 12, which he calls divorcement. Other titles might be standstill, the symbol of closing, stagnation, obstruction, the wife, obstructed, decadence, disjunction, impasse, and a quote from D.F. Hook, yin supporting yang, which is wrong, they part company, bad prospects for marriage or partnership. judgment. Leg. Divorcement means there is a lack of communication between the different classes of men. This is unfavorable to the superior man. The great has departed and the inferior has arrived. Wilhelm/Baines, stand still. Evil people do not further the perseverance of the superior man. The great departs, the small approaches. Blofeld, stagnation or obstruction caused by evildoers. Although the omen portends ill for the superior man, he must not slacken his righteous persistence. The great and the good decline. The mean approach. When heaven and earth cease to cooperate, no growth is possible and stagnation results. The trigram earth, when in intercourse with heaven, has the auspicious meaning of glad acceptance, but when separated from heaven, it represents weakness and darkness, etc. Lu, stagnation. Stagnation is of no benefit, although not of man's doing. The superior man carries on according to his principles. The great is departing. The small is arriving. Ritzema/Karcher, obstructing it. In no way people, not harvesting. Chunsu, trial. The great going, the small coming. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of being blocked or interfered with. It emphasizes that accepting the hindrances that temporarily interrupt the flow of life and thwart communication is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to accept obstruction. Slothnacy, the wife's non-persons, not beneficial for the gentleman to determine. The great go, the little come. Wu, stagnation is destined to cause obstruction of normal course of action. It is not beneficial to the junsi or superior person or chief son who takes a persevering stand. The great goes out and the small comes in. The image. Leg. Heaven and earth are estranged, the image of divorcement. The superior man preserves his virtue by withdrawing from evil and refuses both honor and wealth. Wilhelm/Baines, heaven and earth do not unite, the image of standstill. Thus the superior man falls back upon his inner worth in order to escape the difficulties. He does not permit himself to be honored with revenue. Blofeld. This hexagram symbolizes heaven and earth cut off from each other. To conserve his stock of virtue, the superior man withdraws into himself and thus escapes from the evil influences around him. He declines all temptations of honor and riches. To understand why the trigrams for heaven and earth arranged in what seems to be their natural positions have this inauspicious significance, see notes on the preceding hexagram harmony. If I remember right, it essentially said that the trigram of heaven below any trigram is more auspicious than the opposite of that. That being that heaven supports the trigram above it. So it being flip-flopped means it's basically above and separated from earth, which means they don't interact. Ritzema/Karcher, heaven, earth not mingling, obstruction. A chunsu, or chief son, or superior person, uses parsimonious actualizing Tao to cast out heaviness. A chunsu uses not permitting splendor to use benefits. Actualized Tao, namely, is the ability to follow the course traced by the ongoing process of the cosmos, linked with acquire. De, acquiring that which makes a being become what it is meant to be. Cleary, 1. When heaven and earth do not commune, there is obstruction. The superior person therefore is parsimonious with power and avoids trouble, not susceptible to elevation by emolument. Wu, the junsi practices the virtue of frugality to alleviate difficulties, but does not allow himself to be honored with official salary. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. The unfavorable auspice of divorcement is because heaven and earth are not in communication, and all things consequently fail to unite. High and low, superior and inferior do not meet in union, and there are no well-regulated states in the kingdom. The lower trigram consists of magnetic lines and the upper of dynamic lines. Darkness is within, clarity without. Weakness within, strength without. The lower trigram represents the advancing inferior men. The upper trigram represents the retreating superior men. Leg. The form of divorcement is the exact opposite of harmony, and much of what has been said on the interpretation of that will apply to this. Divorcement is the hexagram of the 7th month when the process of growth has ended and increasing decay may be expected. The trigram of earth is below and that of heaven is above, and since it is always proper for the lower trigram to take the initiative, how can earth take the place of heaven? As in nature, it is heaven that originates, not earth, and in a state the upper classes must take the initiative and not the lower. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. The time is out of joint. Decadence waxes and virtue is mocked. The superior man refuses to participate in the prevailing disorder. If the preceding hexagram images the fruitful union of heaven and earth in a holy marriage, this figure shows their divorcement. Divorcement, the act, process, or an instance of separating things closely joined, the state of being separated. To receive this figure without changing lines suggests that you are separated from truth or virtue, or that for the moment at least, the situation at hand affords no possibility of reconciliation. During such conditions, it would be the height of folly to wed oneself to the prevailing disorder. Note, however, that every line but the third shows some kind of effort to reunite that which has been separated. The first shows an alliance of closely related elements bent on serving the work. Line 2 depicts a kind of holding action, which is necessary to allow a superior element to prevail. The third line identifies recalcitrant forces which prevent union, and 4 depicts another alliance, a higher octave of its first line correlate. Line 5 images nearly complete reunification, and 6 shows the end of divorcement. These images suggest that although disunion prevails, the energy in the situation is promoting connection. As regards the judgment, this is a quote from H.G. Creel, Confucius and the Chinese Way. Plato seems to have expressed Confucius's idea perfectly. In the Republic, he makes Socrates say that the true philosopher, finding himself in an evil environment, will not join in the wickedness of his fellows, but neither is he able singly to resist all their fierce natures, and therefore seeing that he would be of no use to the state or to his friends, and reflecting that he would have to throw away his life without doing any good either to himself or others, he holds his peace and goes his own way. He is content. If only he can live his own life and be pure from evil or unrighteousness, and depart in peace and goodwill with bright hopes. Now we will go to our supporting hexagram, 42, and remember that, and this is called increase, is what he calls it. This sets our answer in a broader context and a direction of travel and influence, those kind of things that show what the answer means for us. Other titles: the symbol of addition, gain, augmenting, help from above, benefit, advantage, profit, expansion. Judgment, leg. Increase denotes advantage in every movement which shall be undertaken. It will be advantageous even to cross the great stream. Ritsuma/Karcher, augmenting, harvesting, possessing directed going, harvesting, wading the great river. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of increase and advance. It emphasizes that expanding the quantity and quality of your involvement is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to augment. The image, leg, wind over thunder, the image of increase. When the superior man perceives good, he moves toward it. When he perceives his faults, he eliminates them. Wilhelm/Baines, wind and thunder, the image of increase. Thus, the superior man, if he sees good, he imitates it. If he has faults, he rids himself of them. Blowfold, this hexagram symbolizes wind and thunder. The superior man, seeing what is good, imitates it. Seeing what is bad, he corrects it. Ritzema/Karcher, wind, thunder, augmenting. A Chun-Tzu, or chief son or superior person, uses visualizing improvement, by consequence shifting. A Chun-Tzu uses possessing excess, by consequence amending. Cleary 1. Wind and thunder increase, thus do superior people take to good when they see it and correct whatever faults they have. Wu, wind and thunder make gain, thus when the Junzi sees a good deed, he improves his own at once. When he realizes he is making a mistake, he corrects it at once. Commentary. Confucius/Leg, increase shows the upper trigram brilliantly decreased to augment the lower. What descends from above reaches to all below, and the satisfaction of the people is without limit. Advantage in movement is shown in the blessings dispensed by the second and fifth lines from their correct positions. The action of wood shows that it is advantageous to cross the great stream. Through the trigrams of movement and humility, there is unlimited daily advancement. Heaven dispenses and earth produces, and all proceeds according to the requirements of the time. Leg, increase has the opposite meaning to the hexagram number 41, compensating sacrifice or decrease. What King Wen had in mind was a ruler or a government operating to dispense benefits to the people and increase their resources. The two important lines in the figure are the correlates 2 and 5. The general auspice of the hexagram is one of being successful in one's enterprises and of overcoming the greatest difficulties. The formation of the trigrams here is the reverse of that in the preceding hexagram. The people are full of pleasure in the labors of the ruler for their good. The action of wood in the Confucian commentary refers to the upper trigram, which is the symbol of wind and wood. From wood, boats are made, on which the great stream may be crossed. In 3 hexagrams, this, 59 and 61, in which this is the upper trigram, we find mention made of crossing the great stream. In the image, thunder and wind are seen to increase one another, and their combination gives the idea of increase. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Take advantage of your opportunities. The superior man recognizes his duty and rectifies his mistakes. Or, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. If the ego's sacrifices for the good of the work are described in the previous hexagram, here we see the inverse image of that figure in which it is the self who bestows its blessings upon the psyche. The one implies the other. In the words of an old blues lyric, if you don't put something in, you can't get nothing out. The 41st and 42nd hexagrams are intimately related, and in their interaction portray the active progress of the work. To paraphrase the last sentence of the Confucian commentary, the self dispenses and the ego produces, and all proceeds according to the requirements of the time. Quote from Maimonides, 8 chapters. If a man continually weighs his actions and aims at the mean, he is in the highest of human ranks. In that way, he will come close to God and will attain what belongs to him. This is the most perfect of the ways of worship. We'll now go back to our primary hexagram 12 and read changing line 1 and 4. Changing lines 1 and 4 have the general context, again, of inklings just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed, and line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Changing line 1 of hexagram 12, which he calls divorcement. James Dekorne. I've linked his website in the description of all my videos with the links to the specific hexagrams we roll in there. I'd recommend checking it out. He's a good resource. Line 1, leg. The first line, magnetic, suggests the idea of grass pulled up and bringing with it other stalks with whose roots it is connected. With firm correctness on the part of its subject, there will be good fortune and progress. Wilhelm/Baines. When ribbon grass is pulled up, the sod comes with it, each according to his kind. Perseverance brings good fortune and success. Blowfold. When grass is uprooted, what is attached to it is pulled up as well. Righteous persistence brings good fortune and success. Although this hexagram is ominous, the first line is auspicious. This sort of contradiction is common with bottom and top lines, which are often held to precede or follow after the main situation. Ritzema/Karcher, eradicating thatch grass intertwined, using one's classification, trial, significant, growing. Cleary 2, correctness is auspicious and successful. Wu, like pulling reeds with all their connecting roots, it will be persevering, auspicious, and pervasive. Commentary, Confucius/Leg, the will of the parties intended as is bent on serving the ruler. I'm going to read that again. The will of the parties intended is bent on serving the ruler. Wilhelm/Baines, the will is directed to the ruler. Blowfold, the omen is favorable owing to continued loyalty to the ruler. The ruler is line 5 in any hexagram, and it represents the mind. So the mind being in control of the other forces. The ruler is now surrounded by evil men or men of mean attainments, but the superior man continues to help him. Ritzema/Karcher, purpose located in a chief indeed. Cleary 2, the will is in the leader. Wu, because the aspiration is to serve the king. Leg, naturally we should expect the advance of the first of the 3 magnetic lines to lead to evil. But if she sets herself to be firm and correct, she will bring about a different issue. She is one of the cluster of inferior forces who are able to change their mind and set their hearts to love their ruler. Notes and paraphrases. Su. Often line 2 has to do with the ego, and so its correlate is line 5, which is interesting. Sometimes what ultimately the hexagram is going for is a sort of balance, and the lines that correlate in particular like to balance. So sometimes getting a strong or masculine or yang line as the ruler position and yin line in the second position of the ego is like the ego following the lead of the self, or the ruler or the mind, but that being like the higher mind. So essentially, the goal is to bring all of the influences of our temperaments, emotions, all the human mentality is what it would say, in line, in servants of the Tao, or the mind, or the sage, or the ruler. Sue, we're into notes and paraphrases. At the outset, the inferior people are advancing. The man retires from public office in order to preserve his integrity. He brings along his associates who are like the sod clinging to the uprooted grass. Wing. If it is not possible to change or influence the current environment while preserving the principles that have formed your character, then withdraw completely. Success will come to you in a more profound sense than could be realized from a compromising situation. Important associates may leave with you. Good fortune. Editor. So these are notes from James Dekorne himself. Compare this with the first line of the preceding hexagram. In some circumstances, the meaning can be similar to the proverb, birds of a feather flock together. In another sense, if grassroots are the foundation, source, bare essence of something, then the first line can represent the roots of the lower trigram, which is seen as a clump of grass or cluster of inferior forces. The image suggests the separation of oneself from an entrenched position and moving upward. Confucius sees this movement as being in accord with the will of the ruler, in psychological terms, the will of the self. A quote from Porphyry. Endeavor to ascend into thyself, gathering in from the body all thy members which have been dispersed and scattered into multiplicity from that unity which once abounded in the greatness of its power. Bring together and unify the inborn ideas and try to articulate those that are confused and to draw into light those that are obscured. James Dekorne breaks this down into 5 possible succinct definitions, A through D. A fundamental change for the better, or the first step toward unity. Grassroots support. B, an ascent from a fixed position. A confederation of lower elements combines to serve a greater whole. C, form follows function. Stay connected with your origins/basic values in context of hexagrams meaning judgment and image. D, action follows perception. And now to changing line 4. Leg. The 4th line dynamic shows its subject acting in accordance with the ordination of heaven and committing no error. His companions will come and share in his happiness. Wilhelm/Baines, he who acts at the command of the highest remains without blame. Those of like mind partake of the blessing. Blowfold, whatever is done in response to a command from on high cannot be a wrong. His companions are also made illustrious and blessed. Yet, according to Confucius, if a ruler is wholly evil, he may be regarded as a bandit and removed. Short of that, however, obedience to authority had to be unquestioning. Lu, he whose actions are in accord with the orders of the highest receives no blame. His fellows share in his blessing. Ritzema/Karcher, possessing fate without fault, cultivating radiant satisfaction. Slofnacy, there is a command. There is no trouble. Blessings fastened to the split log. Cleary 1. If there is an order, there is no fault. The companions attain felicity. Cleary 2. If there is order, there is no blame. The companions cleave to blessings. Wu. Having received the command from the above is without blame. Those of a like kind will share the blessing. Commentary. Confucius/Leg, the purpose of his mind can be carried into effect. Wilhelm/Baines, what is willed is done. Blowfold, those carrying out commands are obeying the ruler's will. Ritzema/Karcher, purpose moving indeed. Cleary 2, because the will is carried out. Wu, his aspirations will prevail. Leg, The action of the subject of the line, whose activity is tempered by his magnetic position, will be good and correct, and issue in success and happiness. The fourth line is just below the ruler's place, and yielding to the will of heaven, or the ruler, he gets his purpose carried out. Notes and paraphrases. Sue. A turn for the better occurs. To succeed in creating order and making progress, however, the man must be given the requisite authority to do the task. He will fail if he proceeds on his own initiative and judgment. Wing. It is possible to change the entire situation to one of progress and order. If you sincerely hear a calling to the task and are in harmony with the cosmos, you and your associates will benefit. If you simply appoint yourself to the position of leader, confusion could result. Editor. Psychologically, the idea here is that when the ego follows the principles of the work or the will of the self, which amounts to the same thing, other elements within the psyche, his companions, are thereby induced to fall into line. Quote from G. Knight in The Work of a Modern Occult Fraternity. Once unity has been achieved, the work of destiny can be commenced, which is the functioning as a part of God's evolving universe, which the individual, as a spirit, undertook to carry out in the first place. And how does he work out his destiny? By being himself, literally, by acting from within the center of his being, his essential self, not by acting according to the dictates of his mind, his emotions, or his instincts, but by using them according to his and their needs. He breaks line 4 down into two possible succinct definitions, A and B. A is, obey the principles of the work, and disparate elements will follow your lead. B, you are in harmony with your duty / destiny / work, capital work. And now, Hilary Barrett, I-ming, walking your path, creating your future. Hexagram 12, she calls blocked, our primary hexagram. Key questions. What work can you do when nothing is working? Who are you when no one is noticing? Oracle, blocking it, non-people. Noble one's constancy bears no fruit. Great goes, small comes. Nothing moves or grows. Communication doesn't happen. Everything is negated and blocked, and this is because of non-people. That may mean that some people are a consistently, exclusively, and pathologically negative influence and sabotage all attempts at progress. It can also refer to perceiving someone as not quite a real person, explaining their behavior with labels and stereotypes rather than seeking to understand. In both cases, there is a complete failure of empathy. This means that your very best and strongest efforts come to nothing. You can have a soaring imaginative concept of the creative possibilities here. You can have the will to be true to that concept and carry it through. You're not doing anything wrong. The problem is that these creative possibilities are just not available when things are blocked. Small concerns dominate. The adaptive response is not to strive constantly to rise to a higher level, but to focus your attention on the small details, the immediate, uninspiring reality. Image. Heaven and earth do not interact. Blocked. A noble one uses his strength sparingly to avoid hardship. He does not allow himself honors and payment. Inspiration soars upward. The opportunities for its realization sink ever further out of reach below. There is no creative connection between the two. The noble one has noticed that the harder you bang your head against a brick wall, the more bruised you get, and so he is economical with his energy and talents. Equally, he does not look for rewards under this regime. The ones who are rewarded now are not noble. He has other priorities than external results and recognition. Sequence. Blocked follows from hexagram 11, flow. Things cannot end with flowing together, and so blocked follows. Effortless communication and mutual openness is a beautiful thing, but it cannot last forever, and perhaps it's somehow incomplete. Could it be that we need to be blocked and cut off so we can grow more strongly from deeper roots? And hexagram 42, our supporting hexagram, she calls increasing. Key questions. What would you do if you knew you were blessed? What if there were no limits? What could change for the better? Oracle. Increasing, fruitful to have a direction to go, fruitful to cross the great river. This puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence of travel, basically the context for us. Oracle, increasing, fruitful to have a direction to go, fruitful to cross the great river. The old Chinese character for increasing shows a pot filled to overflowing. It means blessing and superabundance, like the timely rain that brings a rich harvest. Increase simply flows without limit. There is no need for restrictive frameworks to contain it, but only for tools to work with it. When you are blessed, it is good to respond with purpose and movement, participating in the increase. Pouring more in, you receive more in return. Let yourself imagine where you want to be and take the first steps that commit you to going there. This is how to keep the momentum. Image. Wind and thunder increasing. A noble one sees improvement, and so she changes. When there is excess, she corrects it. Wind and thunder are agents of change. Thunder is like the inner spark of initiative and will. Wind is a far-reaching influence in the world, free-moving because of its endless ability to shape itself to the terrain. So the noble one moves it decisively as thunder and with the versatility of the wind. She does not hold fast to a chosen direction, but responds to whatever opportunities for improvement she can see. Sequence. Increasing follows from hexagram 41, decreasing. Decreasing and not reaching an end must mean increasing. Decrease is the offering, emptying out the vessel. Increase is the blessing, the pot filled to overflowing. There is the willingness to have less and make things simpler, and the willingness to receive more and become richer. Each phase leads into the other, moving in a cycle. Back to hexagram 12, blocked, to read our changing lines 1 and 4, again with the general context of 1, inklings just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed, and line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Changing line 1 of hexagram 12, blocked, pulling up thatch grass, roots entangled, with more of its kind. Constancy, good fortune, creating success. Thatch grass roots are tightly woven together, so you can't pull up one clump without finding yourself pulling up more and more. In a time of blockage, even questions that appear simple and manageable will turn out to be bound up with an endless tangle of issues. This makes the blockage harder to shift than you might have imagined. It would be futile to attempt to grasp the whole twisted mess of roots to take on the whole situation at once. Yet, If you pull on a single clump that fits within your grasp and persist steadily and loyally, you will ultimately have an effect, if not necessarily the one you were looking for at first. The issues you face will be deeper and more far-reaching than you expected, but so too will the eventual benefits of your action. And changing line 4, there is a mandate, no mistake. Work with clarity, fulfillment. When you find yourself blocked, it's hard to believe that your experience is meaningful. Nonetheless, there is a call to action in these events, a message you're meant to hear and work you're meant to be doing. Having a mandate is unlikely to make your life easier. It tends to mean work. You watch for synchronicities and guidance, you take action on each insight, you cultivate yourself as a field to receive the signs and grow them to fulfillment. It takes sustained effort for the mandate to be fully realized, that and adopting a clearer, broader perspective to allow patterns of meaning beyond your individual experience to come into view. It takes sustained effort for the mandate to be fully realized, that and adopting a clearer, broader perspective to allow patterns of meaning beyond your individual experience to come into view. Read chapter 64 out of the Tao Te Ching, translated by Jia Fu Fang and Jane English. '64. Peace is easily maintained. Trouble is easily overcome before it starts. The brittle is easily shattered. The small is easily scattered. Deal with it before it happens. Set things in order before there is confusion. A tree as great as a man's embrace springs from a small shoot. A terrace 9 stories high begins with a pile of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles starts under one's feet. He who acts defeats his own purpose. He who grasps loses. The sage does not act, and so is not defeated. He does not grasp, and therefore does not lose. People usually fail when they are on the verge of success, so give as much care to the end as to the beginning. Then there will be no failure. Therefore the sage seeks freedom from desire. He does not collect precious things. He learns not to hold on to ideas. He brings men back to what they have lost. He helps the 10,000 things find their own nature, but refrains from action.